back to the ProActive Way podcast, where we share with you how we built a successful Latino and family owned business that has served the San Francisco Bay Area for the last 27 years. ProActive Network Consulting was founded on the belief that small businesses deserve quality IT support tailored to their unique needs. And this podcast is here to further connect us with our community of small business owners. I'm your host, Ceila Flores, marketing designer at ProActive and daughter of our founders, Lawrence and Michelle. Welcome to our family and our small business. Today, Cataleen Flores joins us to talk about what it is really like to grow up in the family business. We will be discussing questions such as, should you really be hiring your children? How young should your kids get work experience? Does a family business put pressure on your kids? Let's meet our lovely guests. Cataleen is a junior at the University of San Diego studying business administration with a minor in sociology. At USD, she is an intern with the United Front Multicultural Commons, vice president of the Business Administration Society, a member of the Honors Program, and multiple multicultural student orgs. In addition to all this, she also does competitive Tahitian dance. She hopes to one day work in the DEI field, and she is also the daughter of ProActive's founders and my sister. Hello, Cataleen. How are you feeling about today's interview?
Hello, Ceila. I'm super excited to be here. It's honestly an honor that my voice is valued enough to be on this amazing podcast. A little nervous because I've never been on one before, but very excited to speak with you today.
Well, I'm sure you're going to do great. I know you're a wonderful public speaker. So let's jump right into our very first segment. So we're going to start all the way at the beginning for you. At what age do you first learn about the family business or start to become a little bit more involved in it? Do you think that it was good to get work experience young, and how young?
I mean, I definitely started pretty young. I remember spending my summers at my dad's office, and it was honestly something I was super excited to do, to come in. He always gave me obviously age appropriate tasks, whether it was like sorting cables, but he obviously also brought more advanced things that probably weren't most 5-year-olds or elementary school kids weren't learning about. And he'd show me how all the taxes were done. So it was very much at a young age.
I think it's good to get work experience young, and how young?
I definitely feel like it's such a privilege to get that experience at such a young age. It definitely helped me finding other jobs. I already had those basic professional skills that most people don't learn until they're, full on into their careers. And it definitely just, provided me that safety to learn these skills and these tasks. That was really helpful, that I was able to make mistakes and I was able to be really curious, ask a million questions, and just get a whole different perspective on a job or a career at such a young age.
In what other ways was your childhood impacted by having parents who were business owners?
I definitely learned a lot more than I feel like some of my other peers or friends did, getting a very different perspective on life. I think honestly the greatest benefit of my parents being business owners, though, was that they were able to be so present in my life. With that, they were able to have flexibility on their day-to-day schedule. They were there for every event, every awards ceremony, presentation, whatever it was. And that flexibility teaching me so much about life, and then also just being there for me as parents, I think has been a huge privilege and something I'm very grateful for.
And I can obviously speak on that as well, being one of their other children. Being a small business owner, definitely I've seen that one of the reasons people go into small business ownership is to have that flexibility, to have more time with their family, with their loved ones. It's definitely a very positive impact of small business ownership. In what other ways was your childhood impacted in terms of maybe some parenting style that came from your parents being small business owners or wanting to teach you about the business in your day-to-day life?
I feel like everything kind of became a lesson, or not in a bad way, in a very good way, but my dad always, brought it back. A lot of parents do this, but he would take a bite of our ice cream and be like, that's taxes. It made me less blindsided when I did get older and, got my first paycheck, that the ton of taxes were taken out. Like everything was very much applied. And I feel like it made it, to me, what became common sense became such a skill people my age in college are just slowly learning about. these parts of their career.
For sure. Let's go into our next segment. We're going to talk a little bit about education. So, do you think that growing up in the business impacted your decision to pursue a business degree? And then what else did you think about pursuing other than business?
It absolutely did. Growing up with my father who pursued a business degree, I had other paths, but when I finally decided to go into business, he obviously had a big impact. I was very observant of how beneficial his degree in business, all the benefits it gave him. And I was, as someone who's a planner and I really wanted a lot of security for my career, that definitely did impact my decision. Because originally I was very into sociology. As I said, I'm into DEI, and that was originally the major I wanted. And then in a lot of reflection, I kind of came to the conclusion I wasn't really sure what I could do with that degree. And I knew a business degree was, unfortunately, it's a lot more respected as a degree, and it would give me a lot more job opportunities, a lot of career exploration. It was a priority for me was, future job security. So, and don't get me wrong, I love business and I love studying it, but it definitely wasn't initially my first choice. There was a lot of influence and impact from my parents because of that.
I only speak for myself, but I definitely chose a similar route. My degree's in arts administration, and I chose to, similar to you, combine the thing that I'm very passionate about with a business degree so that the two could go hand in hand and provide me hopefully more success and
Right.
stability in the future. And at the end of the day, I think growing up in a small business the way we have, what it's really taught us is that business is the foundation of everything. Once you have that base layer, regardless of what you're going to pursue, you know how to interact in a professional setting, how to deal with your finances. You're not blind to all the other background stuff that happens regardless of career you're in. Like money has to move
Right.
around somehow.
Yeah. Even if I go into like a nonprofit, like everything's still a business. Working at a university, as much as DEI is important, like it's still a business at the end of the day. So having that background, I think, is very supportive, and I'm still able to hold that passion. As I said, I have a minor in sociology, so I'm still able to study other interests of mine, and like you said, combine both of those two worlds.
Did you ever feel pressured to not just pursue a business degree, but also maybe follow a similar path to your parents? Or did you ever feel pressured to work in the business itself?
Well, I definitely feel like there was some amount of pressure. I don't think it was necessarily from my parents. I think it was more from myself. I definitely observed my parents, they worked very diligently. They overcame so many countless barriers to provide for us to establish this business. This business has given so much for me and my family. I think there definitely was a lot of thoughts in mind that I wanted to continue their hard work, make them proud. And this business is so much more to me than just some regular company. We grew up in this. So I think there's also, with that deeper meaning comes almost like a calling that I want this business to continue and to succeed. Most of that pressure came from myself because I've just seen how hard my parents have worked for this business. So it means a lot to me, and I really hope that can continue.
There is something very unique about working in a family business or just in a small business in general where you understand so much the path that it took to get here and you become very invested in that story, in that journey, as opposed to working for a very large corporation where you don't know everyone you work with. You don't know
Right.
what it took to get here. You're not as connected also sometimes to the end product of whatever you're providing versus in our business, because it is on the smaller side, we get to see everything from the start to the finish and what it actually looks like in practice when our products reach our customers. And there is definitely something very special about that experience.
I agree.
And then obviously by investing back in our business, we're investing back in our family as well, because at this point, a large portion of our family works in the business or has worked in the business in the past. Talking a little bit about your education. Now that you are pursuing this business degree, has your experience in the family business made any of your classes easier, or at least given you like real world examples that you can pull from as you're learning about the business world in your textbooks?
There definitely is that connection. Like I'll have a class, then afterwards I'll like debrief with my dad about certain terms I learned and be like, oh, I remember when I learned that. So, but I feel like in a classroom setting, it's very controlled. It's very like by the rules examples they provide you. And as someone who's actually worked in a business, from my perspective, I'm like, oh, well, you're not thinking about if this could happen, or this isn't a perfect world this scenario would play out. But my own experience has kind of made me sometimes question the professors or the lesson, because I feel like so many other elements to running a business are often forgotten. And unless you've really been in the thick of it, you don't really know that. And it's not just a science, really. It's so much more than that. And so I feel like sometimes I get frustrated with that. And then in addition, because it's a family owned business, it operates and functions so much differently than like a major corporation, which is usually what you're studying in class. It's been very beneficial, but in some ways I just get frustrated with the professor and I'm like, well, I've worked in a real company. This isn't how it works. And this isn't very
Yeah.
accurate.
No, definitely. I think a lot of things can look really good on paper, but in practice, they're just not
Mm-hmm.
practical. I mean, I definitely saw this. I would get frustrated with my classmates sometimes because it'd be like you're working on a group project together and you have to create this marketing idea or this, because I took some classes that are based in nonprofits, like a fundraising idea. And they'd be like, well, this seems like really fun and really cute. But I'm like, are you getting a good return on your investment? How many hours are you investing in this versus what you're actually getting out of it? And it's like, that looks so different on paper. Something can look like, oh, this is going to go great. But then
Yeah.
you start thinking about all the things that happen in practice, like the amount of people you're dealing with, the
Mm-hmm.
personalities you're dealing with. There's so many factors. So,
I'm very much more the realistic, logical person. So when I had like a intro to business class and they're trying to come up with all these great ideas, like I wasn't trying to be, such a pessimist, but I was like, this isn't realistic. Like this can't actually
yeah,
happen. Like, let's be honest here.
it has its pros and cons for sure. It makes you a little more judgmental. But then at the
Yeah.
same time, like you want to know that what you're learning in your textbooks can actually be applied in real life. Our next segment, we're just going to talk a little bit about small businesses as a whole. So, ProActive as a small business serves and supports the IT infrastructure of other small businesses. So, let's talk about them. I'm going to give you a few rapid fire questions about small businesses, just quickly diving into a couple topics. Would you ever own a small business one day? Why or why not?
That's a great question. It seems so simple, but I feel like there's so much more to it. Because on the one hand, I've seen the numerous privileges, and I really do hope to maybe own my own business. Like I said, the flexibility and how much those privileges and benefits it's brought to my family, and that's, unmeasurable. And I'm so incredibly grateful for that. But I've also seen the hardships and the stress my parents have been under, and the enormous risk it takes to run your own business and have your family depend on it. And while I'm so grateful for that, I don't know if I could be under that type of pressure and stress that my parents are under. So I also wouldn't know what my business would be about. So for now, I don't think so, but I could maybe in the future when I have
When you're a
more
little
experience.
older.
Yeah, I have an idea of maybe what it would be about.
You don't want to start a business at 27 like Bobby.
I have no idea how he did that. It literally blows my mind. I don't know how I can't. I'm
Either.
20 and I'm like, I'm just trying
I
to
mean,
get cool.
I'm only 3 years away from that. But Bobby's definitely been very honest with us. Like, it takes a little bit of insanity to want to
Oh
start
yeah.
a small business.
Just yeah.
Yeah.
Because I've seen too much and I'm just like it kind of that blissful like ignorance whatever. Like I don't have that.
Obviously, like, we have experience not just with our personal family's business, but we have a lot of extended family that owns business. Our grandparents
Mhm.
do, many of our aunts and uncles do. So we've seen it across a lot of industries, the restaurant
Right.
industry, pool service industry, tech industry with this business.
Mhm.
It definitely broadens your perspective. You realize it's not as simple as it looks.
I don't know. It takes a certain type of personality to be able to handle a business and have it be successful. That's the real
Yeah, and have it last.
right this long.
Yeah, because I can't remember the statistics exactly, but a good percentage of businesses don't last. Generally, past
Mhm.
5 years or like the 7 year mark is when a lot of
Right.
them just completely close down. To have a business like ours that's been around for 27 years is kind of crazy.
And have your it support, a huge amount of part of your family is pretty incredible.
Do you in any way feel more inclined to support other family owned or small businesses because you grew up in one?
Of course. I've seen how much passion and dedication and hard work and energy that tends to go unnoticed and not valued enough that goes into a family owned business. So anytime I know it's like a family owned business, I completely justify my purchase. Do I need this? But I'm like, oh, it's family owned. I'll support them because I know it takes a whole village to put everything into that business. And so, like I said, so much of this goes unnoticed. So I think it's so important. And I think it's crucial to do like our part in uplifting this new generation of family businesses. And additionally, so many of them tend to be POC and immigrant owned. So that it means even more to me to be able to support them. They have such a deeper story and meaning. It's not just for profit, it's not just a product and service. You're supporting them and you get an additional like joy knowing you're helping and aiding another family. It just means a lot. So I'm always happy, more than happy to support another family owned business.
We've definitely seen that all the small businesses that we know and love in our community are so integral to that community being really solid, because
Right.
small businesses tend to give back the most to their community. They're incredibly grateful of the people that support them, and they're willing to give back. They're the ones that donate to school fundraisers and help put on events in your community. Would you recommend someone your age work in a small business? And what might they learn there?
I guess I'm a little bit biased growing up in a small business. If I decide to pursue a certain careers, I would recommend a small business. I think it's such a great place, like you said, to build community and support where you might feel super isolated and just a number in a major corporation. And instead, the individual be a lot more valued and cared for and, seen as the full person. And like I said, not just a number. They'll learn so much more beyond their individual role and position within the company. Being the small business, you get to dip your toes in a little bit of everything. And these are lifelong skills that might show you an opportunity, a career option you never thought of, or they just might be useful skills to continue building whatever work you're passionate about. So I think there's so much to gain from being in a small business.
There's usually a lot more opportunity for growth in a small business and just to learn a wider array of skills, because in a small business, like, it tends to be that people do multiple different tasks and jobs just because the workforce you're working with is a little bit smaller. You're young and like you want a place that's going to be very supportive and presenting you with lots of opportunities to learn and grow and prove yourself. A small business is definitely a great place for that. Do you think that people should be hiring their kids to work in their business? Why or why not?
I think it honestly depends. I think first the child should probably come to you. Definitely should be something they're interested in and shouldn't be forced, for one, so that they do the work actually correctly and well, but that the child's also passionate about it. Like, I never felt forced to work at my parents' business growing up. I was willing to, I was interested, and I was happy to do so, and I still am. So I think that's a big major component. You shouldn't constrict your child and force them to pursue the same path you have. And if they have other interests, you should be supportive of that. I think my parents have always been very honest and open with us that if this business just isn't something we want to pursue, like, they will support us in all of our interests. So I think it really has to do with both sides. Are they interested? Are they just doing this as an easy way out? Or are they really passionate about this? Is this an interest of theirs? I definitely think it's possible. You're working for your parents, so I feel like you can answer that question better as like a full-time employee. I think it definitely has a lot of benefits, and it's helped so many of our relatives like continue on in their careers by having someone giving them a chance here.
Yes, it's important that the kid even wants to be there. I've had this conversation with our parents. Their skills still need to align with the purpose of the business.
Yeah, not just give them a random position just to give it
Yeah,
to
just to give them a position. Obviously, we're lucky in the fact that like we've both grown up innately interested in business, and it's something that has come easy to us. And I'm sure there's a whole nature versus nurture thing of like, is that just because we grew up learning so much about it?
Right.
Who knows? I definitely wouldn't be working in the business today if it weren't for the fact that like I already went to college. I already pursued my business degree. I solidified that it was something that I'm interested in. It came naturally. It didn't feel forced. It didn't feel like I was trying to put myself in a box that wasn't meant for me. What do you think Gen Z is going to bring to the business world? What unique thing is our generation going to start introducing?
I can think of two off the top of my head. I think the first one is so much more like passion and actually interest in their work. I think our generation cares a lot more about being interested in their job and it having meaning and purpose. And I feel like with that, when you really care about your job and what you're doing in your day-to-day life, I think you're going to bring so much more to the table instead of just dreading your job every day and being angry at your company. Like, instead, if you're in a job that makes you happy and you feel more meaning and purpose, I think you'll care more about it. You'll work harder because it has a deeper meaning to you. And I think a lot of previous generations, they were just doing the job just to get their paycheck and leave. And I don't think they're gonna, have that same level of passion and care. And with that, I think, as someone who's interested in DEI, I think our newer generation, that's something that's across the board a little bit more important for them, to increase more opportunities for other people. When we have a diverse array of candidates and employees, they're gonna bring new ideas, strengthen a business, evolve a business, make it a lasting company for years.
I wanted to ask you, who else should we bring onto this podcast?
I would love to have my grandmother on this podcast. She owns her own business, has done so much. So I think she probably has so much more wisdom and advice to provide. She's overcome so much, and I think it'd be really cool to hear her perspective on the business world.
We'll definitely keep her in mind for our lineup. Wrapping things up, how did you feel about today's discussion?
I'm so happy to share. Like I said, this business is so much more to me than just a random company or for profit. Like, it genuinely has like a soft spot in my heart. Like, I really care about it. So to be able to share my experiences and how much it means to me and how much joy and happiness that has brought me and my family, leaving here with my cup very filled.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. We hope you learned something new about the realities of bringing your kids into your family business. If you or someone you know are searching for small business tailored IT support, you can contact us at proactiveway.com or the link in the description.
Thank you so much for having me on, Ceila. Make sure to like and subscribe for more tech-related content. And we'll see you in our next episode. Bye!
Bye!